India is the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of the human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of the legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most instructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only, said Mark Twain. In today's class, we will learn about India in brief, Bharat Darshan in the literal sense. India has a unique culture and is one of the oldest and greatest civilizations of the world. It stretches from the snow-capped Himalayas in the north to the sun-drenched coastal villages of the south and the humid tropical forests on the southwest coast, from the fertile Brahmaputra Valley on its east to the Thar Desert in the west. It covers an area of 32,87,263 square kilometers. It has achieved all-round socio-economic progress during the last so many years of its independence. India is the 7th largest country in the world and ranks second in population. The country stands apart from the rest of Asia, marked off as it is by the mountains and the sea, which give her a distinct geographical entity. Bounded by the great Himalayas in the north, it stretches southwards and at the Tropic of Cancer tapers off into the Indian Ocean between the Bay of Bengal on the east and the Arabian Sea on the west. Lying entirely in the northern hemisphere, the mainland extends between the latitudes 8 degree 4 minutes and 37 degree 6 degrees 6 minutes north longitudes and 68 degree 7 minutes and 97 degree 25 minutes east, and measures about 3,214 kilometers from the north to south between the extreme latitudes and about 2,933 kilometers from east to west between the extreme longitudes. It has a land frontier of about 15,200 kilometers. The total length of the coastline of the mainland, Lakshadweep Islands and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands is 7,516.6 kilometers. Countries having a common border with India are Pakistan, Afghanistan to the northwest, China, Bhutan and Nepal to the north, Myanmar to the far east and Bangladesh to the east. Sri Lanka is separated from India by a narrow channel of sea formed by the Pak Strait and the Gulf of Mannar. The country can be divided into 6 zones, mainly north, south, east, west, central and the northeast. It has 28 states and 8 union territories. The mainland comprises 4 regions, namely the Great Mountain Zone, the plains of Ganga and the Indus, the desert region and the southern peninsula. The Himalayas comprise 3 almost parallel ranges interspersed with large plateaus and valleys, some of which, like the Kashmir and the Kulu valleys, are fertile, extensive and of great scenic beauty. Some of the highest peaks in the world are found in these regions. The high altitudes allow travel only through a few passes, notably the Jalepla and the Nathula on the main Indo-Tibet trade route, through the Chumbi Valley, northeast of Darjeeling, and the Shipkila in the Sutlej Valley, northeast of Kalpa, which is the Kinnaur region. The mountain wall extends over a distance of about 2,400 kilometers with a varying depth of 240 to 320 kilometers. In the east, between India and Myanmar and India and Bangladesh, hill ranges are much lower. Garo, Kashi, Jantia and Naga hills, running almost east to west, join the chain to Mizo and Rakhine hills running north to south. The plains of Ganga and the Indus, about 2,400 kilometers long and 240 to 320 kilometers broad, are formed by the basins of three distinct river systems, the Indus, Ganga and the Brahmaputra. They are one of the world's greatest stretches of flat alluvium and also one of the most densely populated areas on the earth. Between the Yamuna at Delhi and the Bay of Bengal, nearly 1600 kilometers away, there is a drop of only 200 meters in the elevation. The desert region can also be divided into two parts, the Great Desert and the Little Desert. The Great Desert extends from the edge of Rann of Kutch beyond the Luni River northward. The whole of Rajasthan Sindh frontier runs through this. The Little Desert extends from the Luni between Jaisalmer and Jodhpur up to the northwest. Between the Great and the Little Deserts lies a zone of absolute sterile country consisting of rocky land cut up by limestone ridges. The peninsular plateau is marked off from the plains of the Ganga and the Indus by a mass of mountain and hill ranges varying from 460 to 1220 meters in height. Prominent among these are the Aravalis, Vindhya, Satpura, Maikala and Ajanta. The peninsula is flanked on one side by the Eastern Ghats, where elevation is about 610 meters, and on the other by the Western Ghats, where it is generally from 915 to 1220 meters, rising in places to over 2440 meters. Between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea lies a narrow coastal strip, while between Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal there is a broader coastal area. The southern point of the plateau is formed by the Nilgiri Hills, where the eastern and the western Ghats meet. The Cardamom Hills lying beyond may be regarded as a continuation of the Western Ghats. The river systems of India can be classified into four groups, namely the Himalayan rivers, the Deccan rivers, the coastal rivers and the rivers of the inland drainage basin. The entire country has been divided into 20 river basins or groups of the rivers basins, comprising 12 major basins and 8 composite river basins. The 12 major river basins are the Indus, Ganga, Brahmaputra and the Meghna, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Mahanadi, Pennar, Brahmani, Baitarani and the Sabarmati and Narmada and Tapi. Each of these basins has a drainage area exceeding 20,000 square kilometers. The 8 composite river basins combining suitably together all the other remaining medium drainage of 2,000 to 20,000 square kilometers and small river systems with drainage area less than 2,000 square kilometers for the purpose of planning and management are firstly the Subarnarekha, comprising the Subarnarekha and other small rivers between Subarnarekha and Baitarani. Next we have the east flowing rivers between Mahanadi and Pennar. Then we have the east flowing rivers between Pennar and Kanyakumari. Next we have area of the inland drainage in the Rajasthan desert. And next the west flowing rivers of Kutch and Saurashtra including Luni. And next we have the west flowing rivers from Tapi to Tadri. Next we have the west flowing rivers from Tadri to Kanyakumari. And finally we have the minor rivers draining into Myanmar and Bangladesh. The climate of India may be broadly described as tropical monsoon type. The Indian Meteorological Department designates 4 official seasons. Firstly, the winter from December to early April. The year's coldest months are December and January, when temperatures average around 10 to 15 degrees Celsius in the northwest. Temperatures rise as one proceeds towards the equator, peaking around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius in the mainland, India's southeast region. The next season is the summer or the pre-monsoon season, which lasts from April to June. April to July in the northwestern India. In the western and the southern regions, the hottest month is April. For northern regions, May is the hottest month. Temperatures average around 32 to 40 degrees Celsius in most of the interior. The next season is the monsoon or the rainy season, lasting from June to September. The season is dominated by the humid southwest summer monsoon, which slowly sweeps across the country beginning in the late May or early June. Monsoon rains begin to recede from the North India at the beginning of the October. South India typically receives more rainfall. and the next season is the post-monsoon season, which lasts from October to December. In northwestern India, October and November are usually cloudless. The Himalayan states, being more temperate, experience two additional seasons, autumn and the spring. Traditionally, Indians note 6 seasons, each about 2 months long: the spring, summer, monsoon, early autumn, late autumn and winter. These are based on the astronomical division of the 12 months into 6 parts. The ancient Hindu calendar also reflects these seasons in the arrangement of months. India's climate is affected by 2 seasonal winds, the northeast monsoon and the southwest monsoon. The northeast monsoon, commonly known as the winter monsoon, blows from land to sea, whereas the southwest monsoon, also known as the summer monsoon, blows from sea to land after crossing the Indian Ocean, the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. The southwest monsoon brings most of the rainfall during the year in our country. India is rich in flora. The available data places India at the 10th position in the world and 4th in Asia in the plant diversity. From about 70% geographical area surveyed so far, over 46,000 species of plants have been described by the Botanical Survey of India, which resides at Kolkata. The vascular flora, which forms the conspicuous vegetation cover, comprises 15,000 species. With a wide range of climatic conditions from the torrid to the Arctic, India has a rich and varied vegetation which only a few countries of comparable size possess. India can be divided into 8 distinct floristic regions: the Western Himalayas, the Eastern Himalayas, Assam, the Indus Plain, the Ganga Plain, the Deccan, the Malabar and the Andamans. India is one of the mega biodiversity countries in the world with unique biogeographical locations, diversified climatic conditions and a wide array of ecosystems ranging from deep sea to high mountain ranges in the Himalayas. Zoological Survey of India, which is under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, is more than a century old, committed to inventorying the faunal resources of the country right from the protozoa to mammalia. The Zoological Survey of India, headquartered at Kolkata, and its 16 regional centers spread across the country are studying the Indian fauna of all states, union territories and protected areas in different ecosystems. Altogether, 102,161 species have been documented by the Zoological Survey of India from India, of which diversity of arthropods stands tall with 76,461 species. India contributes to 6.52% of the global faunal diversity with an endemism of about 28%. Among the animals reported from the country, over 2,800 species are protected under different schedules of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 for better conservation. According to the World Biogeographic Classification, India represents 2 of the major realms: the Palearctic and the Indo-Malayan, and the 3 biomes: the tropical humid forests, tropical dry or deciduous forests, and the warm deserts or the semi-deserts. The Indian landmass has been classified into 10 biogeographic zones, and the Zoological Survey of India documented the faunal resources in some of them. The Himalayas with 30,377 species, Trans-Himalayas with 3,324 species, islands with 11,009 species, the Northeast with 18,527, the desert with 3,324 species, the semi-desert with 7,424 species, and the coast with 11,883 species. In order to protect the biodiversity, 903 protected areas that are spawning over 5% of the country's geographical areas have been designated, of which faunal communities have been thoroughly listed from 120 protected areas by the Zoological Survey of India. In the Indian Ocean region, India is one of the countries with high marine biodiversity that has been accounted with 20,444 species. Besides these, 9,457 species from freshwater, 3,939 species from estuarine, and 5,747 species from the mangrove ecosystems have been recorded from the country. Among the Indian fauna, 5,632 species have been included in various categories of the IUCN Red List that require some attention for conservation. For effective conservation of the water bodies, 47 wetlands have been recognized as Ramsar sites. The wetlands of the international importance, in which 6,602 species of animals under different groups have been reported. Under the Man and the Biosphere concept of UNESCO, 18 biosphere reserves have been designated in India, of which Sundarban Biosphere Reserve harbors large number of species to the tune of 2,626, while in Great Nicobar, 2,079 species, the Nilgiri, 1,875 species, Gulf of Mannar, 1,086 species, Manas, 846 species, Panchmadi, 539 species, Nanda Devi, 427 species, and Nokrik, 262 species of animals have been reported. Out of the 35 biodiversity hotspots identified in the world, Himalayas, Indo-Burma, Sundaland, and the Western Ghats, Sri Lanka are shared by India with high degree of endemism. The Census of India 2001 was historic and epoch-making, being the first census of the 21st century and the third millennium. It reveals benchmark data on the state of abundant human resources available in the country, their demography, culture, and economic structure at a juncture which marks a centennial and millennial transition. Census of 2011 was the 15th census of its kind since 1872. It was held in two phases, house listing and the house census. April to September of 2010, and the population enumeration was taken between February 9 to 28, 2011, with revisional round during the March of 5th, 2011. Reference date was 0.00 hour of March 1st, 2011. In the snowbound areas, the population enumeration was conducted from September 11 to 30th September of 2010. The final population data was released on April 30, 2013. As per the Census of India of 2011, stood at 1,210 million as on March 1st, 2011, out of which 833.7 million lived in the rural areas and the rest of 377.1 million lived in the urban areas. With a population of 1,028.7 million in 2001, the decadal growth rate of the population in India between 2001 and 2011 was 17.7%. The population of India is estimated to have reached 1,363 million in 2021 and is projected to reach 1,522.3 million by 2036. India accounts for only 135.79 million square kilometers of surface area, a meager 2.4% of the world's surface, yet it accounts for a whooping percentage of the world population. One of the most important indices of the population concentration is the density of population. It is defined as the number of persons per square kilometer. The population density of India in 2011 was 382 per square kilometer with a decadal growth rate of 17.7%. The density of population has increased in all states and union territories between 1991 and 2011. Among the bigger states, Bihar was the most thickly populated state with a population density of 1,106 persons per square kilometer, followed by West Bengal at 1,028 and Kerala at 860 in 2011. Among the smallest states or union territories, the population density of National Capital Territory of Delhi was at the highest at 11,320 persons per square kilometer in 2011, followed by Chandigarh at 9,258 persons per square kilometer. Sex ratio, defined as the number of females per 1,000 males, is an important social indicator to measure the extent of prevailing equality between males and females in a society at a given point of time. The sex ratio in India has always remained unfavorable to females. It was 972 at the time of the beginning of the 20th century and thereafter showed a continuous decline until 1941 when it reached 945. The sex ratio has improved from 933 in 2001 to 943 in 2011. However, the child sex ratio, which is defined as the number of girls aged 0 to 6 years per 1,000 boys aged 0 to 6 years, has deteriorated from 927 in 2001 to 919 in 2011. A person aged 7 and above who can both read and write with understanding in any language is treated as a literate as per the Census of India of 2011. A person who can only read but cannot write is not a literate. Prior to 1991, Census of India treated children below 5 years of age as illiterates. As per Census 2011, the literacy rate in India stood at 73%, 80.9% for males and 64.6% for females, an increase from 64.8% in 2011. Kerala retained its top position with 94%, males with 96.1% and female literacy at 92.1%, followed by Lakshadweep at 91.8% literates, Bihar with a literacy rate of 61.8%, comprising males of 71.2% and females 51.5% literacy, was the lowest in the country. Migration is one of the most important indicators of demography. People migrate from one place to another due to various socio-economic reasons. Census of India records migration by two methods, namely the place of last residence and the place of birth. In terms of the place of the last residence method, migrants are defined as people who are currently residing at a place different from their place of their last residence. In terms of place of birth method, people are currently residing at a place different from the place of birth and are treated as migrants. About 455.8 million people were treated as migrants by the place of the last residence. 141.9 million were considered to be migrants between the period 2001 and 2011. And a major chunk of the migrants in India, 84.8% in the period of 2001 to 11, were within the state of enumeration. Only 15.6% of the migrants were considered interstate migrants. Similarly, within the states or the Union Territories, 64.9% of the migration in the period 2001 to 2011 happened within the district of the enumeration, and the rest 35.1% migrants were inter-district migrants. The fertility or the total fertility rate of a population is the average number of children that would be born to a woman over her lifetime if she was subjected to the prevailing rate of age-specific fertility in the population. A total fertility rate of about 2.1 children per woman is called the replacement level fertility. From a total fertility rate of 2.6 in 2008 to 2.2 in 2018, India has gradually moved towards achieving the replacement level of fertility. The crude birth rate is a measure of birth rates and is defined as the total number of live births in a year divided by the total mid-year population and multiplied by 1,000 to express it per 1,000 population. The crude birth rate in India has reached 20%, 20 per 1,000 population in 2018. The crude death rate is a measure of mortality rates and is defined as the total number of deaths in a year divided by the total mid-year population and multiplied by 1,000 to express it per 1,000 population. The crude death rate for India in 2018 was 6.2 per 1,000 population, gradually down from 7.4 in 2008. The infant mortality rate is another important indicator of demography and is defined as the number of deaths in a year per 1,000 live births of the children under 1 year of age. India has been able to drastically reduce the infant mortality rate from 53 in 2008 to 32 in 2018. India is the largest democracy in the world. Its government is a constitutional republic and it represents a highly diverse population consisting of thousands of ethnic groups and likely hundreds of languages. Today, we have learnt about the various aspects of India ranging from the relief to flora, fauna and the demographic trends.